And alrighty, we are back. You feel like Quaz and Abyss will never have a chance to breathe? You're right. I kind of forgot that we're with Quaz. Almost definitely a stupid idea to head down to the Abyss. But fortunately, we were about to at least find our slime entrance. And that ideally would have keyed us in to that very simple fact, because yes, unless absolutely necessary, do not take Quaz into the Abyss. I'm stupid, and just forgot about this simple fact of life that most Quaz worshippers know when they're just young babies, you know? Because yes, absolutely brutal in so many different ways. I would not recommend taking this deity combo into the Abyss by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't even paying attention as I tabbed my way into Rupert there. I mean, shouldn't be too much of a problem regardless. In fact, it seems to be all good. But should at least be watching my screen when I press tab, you know? Let's keep enchanting up that barding a little bit. And that should be a fairly straightforward floor at the very least. Which is nice. This is our real chance to breathe. We've been tensed up this entire time. In fact, I stood up, but I didn't actually take the opportunity to give a good old stretch here. Make sure that I'm not a ball of knots, which I definitely have been up until this point. But hello, friends. Again, this is our nice relaxation, our vacation from the usual duties of the dungeon, as it were. And we can just roll through it. Tap, 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 tap. No worries at all. I feel like I so rarely have complete tab fests in runs, but it's usually because of, I think, the style of run that I like to go in with. So oftentimes I like picking kind of fun, fancy gods of different types and stuff like that. When instead, if we were just in a solid run with solid defensive capabilities, could do the classic kind of tab fest at the very least. Well, who knows? We'll have to see what kind of runs we end up running on Tuesday this week when we pop in for the 15 runes, because a nice mix between things that are fast to go through the starting bits of the game, as well as having some decent staying power later, might be fun to do. But of course, I do leave those options up to all of you lovely people. I'll use this as another reminder that if you are at all interested in seeing a specific combo being run for that, definitely let me know and I'm happy to oblige. Probably name the character after you as well, just so that if we do get the win, we can always remember who got us there. Let's see, let's search up resistance to corrosion here. Do we want to take up a ring slot? Probably is our best bet. Let us. Oh my gosh, it's all the way back at D15. I mean, we're not even close to the Zot clock, right? No, we've been fast enough to not have to worry about that at the very least. Let's go get her, I guess. And what will I not need in slime that I can leave behind for my inventory? Becomes the question. Resistance isn't super necessary in slime. Magic mapping, or not magic mapping, but just magic potions rather, aren't super useful. Unless we switch over to the Spirit Guardian necklace, which we probably will, now that I mention it. Because Reflection doesn't have a whole lot of use in slime. I think there is the occasional enemy that has a bolt attack, but for the most part, won't be worrying too much about that. And let's just drop Charming for now, and then we will go to, what is the thing for slime? M. All I knew is that it's not S, because Swamp is the only S branch that gets to be called S. But we'll head back down, suit up a little bit, switching off our RN ring for the resistance to corrosion. Here goes. This, in its own right, is going to be a bit of a nightmare, because, sure, with Quazlaw, or in general, we just want to go through slime, but with Quazlaw, we're going to be making a lot of noise, and so slimes are going to just come en masse. Absolutely surround us. Oh gosh, shining eye, eh? I don't even really want to use my throwing javelins. Also grab some Immo scrolls. Maybe, it depends on how we want to cut about this. Because I do kind of go back and forth every once in a while on whether we want to do the classic immolation strat this time around, or with melee, you can also do some interesting magic mirror condenser vein shenanigans. But at the end of the day, probably should go for an immolation scroll or two just to play it safe, eh? Oops, let's not auto attack. I actually want to for sure throw my boomerangs at this shining son of a gun. And let's give it a few more turns while we make some noise. Just thunder constantly. Immune to the flame clouds too. Interesting. Does that spell technically create clouds? Because I'm always so curious what the unique distinctions are between some of those things, because you don't need space for something like immolation or what's the level 8 fire spell? Is it just called immolation? No. Anyway, those ones don't need the space that a cloud requires, and that makes me curious if it will count in the same regard, because it's not a static tile-based thing and is instead an effect that takes place. And thank you, Railbird, Ignition. It's one of my favorite spells in the entire game, if not my favorite spell in the entire game, and I'm just an idiot for forgetting what it's called. But regardless, I think you are correct that the only safe way to go about this, whoops, that one's in a vault, screw that, is to grab a couple of these. I think you still get hurt by the explosion, but the clouds left behind should be harmless. Then you are completely correct in that regard, yes. I apologize for the misunderstanding on my side of things. Though it won't be the last time it happens, I'm sure. I'm capable of forgetting and misunderstanding things in ways that you can't even imagine. But okie dokie, let's drop the paralysis wand. It's something that's not quite as useful at this stage in the game. And I want a couple more of these immolation scrolls. That's one. And then D15 has the other. Do you want? I lied. We're good with that. 2 should be enough though, especially in conjunction with the condenser vein and the rest of our shenanigans here. Should be good. Gonna spend a few turns making noise here, making sure we're not just leaving enemies just out of sight. And all you sons of guns, we're gonna split into batch files for sure. We do not want to deal with this many green slimes all at once. Otherwise, we might learn just how big these slimes can get. But we'll switch over to our axe as well, just to get that sweet, sweet cleave damage. It would be thematically appropriate, but I would also hate it if they changed it so that blunt weapons couldn't really do much damage against slimes. Even something with spikes like our current Evening Star, I can't imagine would do very well against a gelatinous mass, right? But of course, that's somewhere where you have to sacrifice flavor for gameplay, because I do think that it would be super painful to try and balance that in any meaningful way. You know, I guess not the end of the world, because you do have some cross-training, so you just have to have a good axe lying around somewhere, you know? But there we go, managed to clear that stairway enough. Let's hope that we can do the same here. Don't like the crowd that we're initially bringing in, especially when we fail that and get pushed off by the rock slime. I was desperately hoping that that would not be the case, but it's not the end of the world either. As long as we don't get corroded beyond belief here. Confusion doesn't help, so I will actually get rid of that almost immediately. We fortunately do have a decent amount of curing potions, so I can burn through them at a slightly stupid rate. Let's run upstairs, please, and thank you. Do not want to keep dealing with nonsense there. Also, probably should have switched over to our vampiric axe a little bit sooner, just to take advantage of being surrounded and gaining health from multiple sources. I kind of forget to myself that these slimes are mindless, but not lifeless. So we are able to take advantage of the vampiric brand here. Please go absolutely suck it, rock slimes. One of these days, they're going to take me out in a horrifying manner, I'm sure. As is, I feel like I'm always lucky in my fights against rock slimes in particular. Okay, that's slime pits 3. Make some noise over here. Seems good. Hello, friends. Get lucky with the stair placement here at the very least. Let's hope that that luck maybe translates over a few different ways. Hello, giant slime. Titanic, even, some might say. There we go. Not too bad. This is definitely a great showing for the vampiric brand here, just keeping us topped off throughout the entirety of these little bouts and scrabbles. There we go. Down to slime 5, which is going to be very interesting in its own right. There's almost no way that we do not wake up the Mama Slime. In fact, wait a second, where the heck am I? Am I right next to it? I feel like these stairs almost always are around the outside of the level, but it feels like I'm right next to it. That's not great, especially confused constantly by these golden eyes. You know what, we're already almost at max. I'm just going to Tremor Stone. Hopefully that takes out all the golden eyes. Saves us some trouble in that regard. There's 6 floors in slime. Is that my problem? Is my brain broken today? No, there are only 5. I'm not completely stupid yet. It's just, oh, it's just a weird looking corner. I see. Of course, just a weird looking corner. Well, let's just keep making way more noise than we otherwise would have liked to in this stage. I think I want to try and bring this rock slime upstairs. Perfect. That's all we could ask for. And now we can do a little bit classic dance in here. Even willing to take a turn with the potential for mutation. Don't mind me. Pardon me, excuse me. Please don't push me into that slime there, bud. Nice. Not too bad. Another freaking shining eye, huh? Very cool. Not at all a pain in the butt. Did we actually get through that without... No, we did get 1 bad mutation, which makes sense. It's only fair. And the royal slime, of course, awoken by the sounds of our struggling and pain. Well, well, well. We have 1 pip of RF right now, and we could actually go up to 3 fairly easily. We just lose resistance to poison and 1 pip of RC, which isn't bad, actually. Anything else I'm forgetting of? No. So I'm going to switch over to that. As much as I don't like giving the royal jelly time to walk up to us. And then use a good old javelin here. 1 more javelin. I think I'm willing to risk. What new plan? Before I make any rash decisions here. We're not near any more downstairs, but we could still find one. The issue being is that I might just want to reset this. Even despite some early advances at the very least. Because, let's see. Order of operations here. We need to immolate. Then we need to damage the slime, the royal jelly that is, as well as all intervening slimes around us in relatively short order. Just pack a bit of a punch in real quick. And then 1 more immolate condenser vein with some jumbling in the middle there for sure. This condenser vein alone might do the trick. We do have a lot of RF at the very least. The issue is we only have 2 scrolls of immolation on us here, and it's a decently far trip to grab more. And I would have liked to initiate the plan a little bit sooner. So do you know what? We're taking our friends upstairs. Hello, friends. Goodbye, friends. And let's wait it out, and we're going to do a little bit of exploring. We almost never explore slime, which means this is going to be the one and only time that I run into Dissolution, I think is the name of the unique in this branch. Never actually ran into them, because I try and just be in and out of here as quick as humanly possible. But there comes a time in every young Palentonga's life when needs must. And so, there must be a need. Let's do this. Reset the fight a bit. Switch to our boomerangs for any precursor enemies here. Second that royal jelly comes up, there she is. Let's not have to take the extra turns to switch off our rings this time around. Instead, split. Split, my pretty. Yes. That's not as much as I'd like you to split. Let's maybe do an ice blast. Yeah, wow, you're not actually resistant to it. Huh, I assumed you were resistant to cold. Well, in that case, just blast him. Then we can immolate for the first scroll here. Unfortunately, the royal jelly is so much faster than their friends. You son of a gun. Condenser vein, not quite yet, even though it's getting close. Let's go for... Oh, no, you're got to be immune to acid. You are indeed immune to acid. Almost got really stupid there on my end. Let's instead just blast you the old-fashioned way. One more immolate. Maybe too early for that, but let's do it. And of course we get poison gas. Gosh darn it. Aren't these buddies all immune? They got all resistant at the very least, right? No. That was supposed to be our ticket out of here. Dang you. Well, we can do one more quick javelin to Royal Jelly, even a couple here, just see how our damage progresses throughout the hits. I was really hoping for some good clouds there. This would have been dealt with already. But it is what it is. So it's Tin of Tremor Stones, deals a lot of damage to all these low AC enemies. Ideally, get some good explosions happening around the Royal Jelly too. Not bad. Definitely getting there. Let's blast her. Royal Jelly still just almost dead. Okay. Don't you dare run away. If you leave my sight, I'll be very upset. Royal Jelly still just almost dead. There aren't any Poison Cloud elementals, are there? That does beg the question of what happens when we call elementals from this. I'm going to disaster area first, because I feel like that's the safe thing to do here. Should kill the Royal Jelly once and for all, as well as a lot of the little buddies as well. There goes the Royal Jelly herself, or themselves, I should say. Let's not attribute gender to a completely fluid thing, shall we? And what else? I still feel confident about my abilities. This is where we could start bringing in some elementals, I guess, because that combo, disaster area followed by elemental force, fills the area with clouds and then brings in an army of our own making. So let's try it out, shall we? And that seems to confirm, if I had to guess, that poison clouds do nothing, unfortunately. Which is a shame. It'd be fun if there was some kind of interaction with that. Even if they were just air elementals, that would make sense to me, but I'll still totally take it. No problems here. So, much needed allies on our side. Question is, when do we bail? Probably don't have to at this point. Point to bail was probably a couple turns ago if we were going to, and as is, let's just finish off this fight, shall we? Not too bad. I mean, that explosion is going to kill off most of our friends, but they're already dead. Heck yeah, okay. So that should be the worst of things under control. It's not necessarily a guarantee. For all I know, slimes could still be ready to gang up on us in ridiculous sums here. A little summoner brain is not exactly what we want to see. Where did you go? You son of a gun. I'm feared as well. That's a pain in the butt. Fortunately, we do have some ranged options here. We're not the complete end of our rope. Take that son of a gun out. How bad are the mutations? Just shouting, I believe. Yeah, so not horrible, all things considered. Definitely didn't run into too many shining eyes, at the very least. So it does make sense in its own right. Also, do titanic slimes never get any bigger? That's kind of sad. I mean, I'm grateful for it, don't get me wrong. Don't change anything on the fly here, game, or else I will be dead. But I just like to see these little buddies grow, you know? I like to see how big they can get. Okie dokie. Let's go through picking up all of this crap that we left lying around. Our corrosion ring that we don't really need. And we already discovered nobody can hear you shout above the clouds. You're not wrong about that. In fact, that didn't even cross over in the same section of my brain, even though it should have. That's a fantastic point. We have absolutely no worries whatsoever. Because, of course, as we all know by this point, Quaslal cannot hear your screams. All that good stuff. But But okie dokie, there we have it. Our third rune in pocket here. Not too bad. Now it's just about getting a victory, isn't it? Only have one blinking scroll. We have no haste at our disposal. Maybe that I left somewhere. A potion or two. Ah, we do have 2 potions of haste left behind. So it's not the end of the world, at least. Wow, this is the worst slime vault you've ever seen. Did I even get a single artifact? We got... Well, okay, I was going to say we got one that's useful. We did get this sword, so yay, a crappy sword. Longsword of Arrival. But for the most part, it was just very crappy things. This ring might have been okay in another life, but nothing that we have any need for whatsoever, so unfortunately, yeah, kind of drew the crap roll there, but it is what it is, and we still got the rune in one piece, so I'm happy regardless of outcome. Now, let us go. Let's actually find that haste again. Let's go get this haste. We will have to do some swapping out here. I like Reflection as a brand so much that I'm tempted to keep the necklace around, but we could just resort on the extra Slain and the Sphered Guardian here. Otherwise, what else do we have that we're not really using? Haven't touched Talk UK in a while, but Evocable Blink might be handy to some extent. RN is useful. Willpower. I mean, no matter what, we kind of have crap willpower. Is it even worth it to carry around this ring? That I'm not so sure about, but we probably will for austerity's sake here. And let us instead toss down Paralysis we don't need. And that should just about do it for now, I guess. We only dropped other wands of similar value in the recent history here, so we should be good with just that. Let's do that. There's a magical scroll emporium. Let's buy more silence. Don't mind if I do. I'll also buy enchant armor here. Even though I do feel like we just left some enchant armors lying around on the floor somewhere, so probably better off with a bit of a search. Would you look at that? But we're good here anyway, so good to head down. Let's start getting a going. And just doing some back-end stuff here, making sure we're as prepared as we possibly could be for Zot moving forward. Yes, please, game. Take me away. And... probably want to keep going on our shield here. Almost no reason not to, right? Especially if some of these... Oops, sorry. Go ahead. Don't mind me. Some of these are in the same shop, which they all are. We also have no other real place to spend our money, so we'll do it. Probably should have done a quick check on enchant weapon as well, because I don't know where we left our fat stack of those. Just on D14, so that's not too bad actually. We'll run up and grab that. Mostly because we just want to quickly round out our vampiric axe here. Why the heck not? That should be it. Perfect. Find. Go grab those enchant armors that we just left sitting on the floor after paying good money for them, of course. And there we go. Not too bad. One last scroll to find on our way down. Puts us in to an alright place. Okay, and I think that's about as ready as we'll get. I'm a little worried about Orbs of Fire and how we'll be able to handle them. We fortunately have a pretty banging Evening Star. Maybe that, with some help from our friends, should be enough to get through it in one piece. But who can tell with these things? Quick check, we have our resistance to poison back online for dealing with all the dragon types and draconians. Resist corrosion is a switch away. Willpower is not looking good, which might come to bite us in the butt. But hey, what are we going to do about it? We could sacrifice something like 14 AC if we wanted. Which wouldn't be great to say the least. So let's just see how Zot treats us, shall we? Should also quickly do a find. Did we leave any magic mapping line around? Sorry, one more detour. My bad. Pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Let's definitely pick that up so we have just enough to make our way through Zot here. Perfect. Now we're ready to go. I'm curious how much we want to clear the entirety of these floors. This is a character that could probably do without... Oh wait, no, that's a lie. With the amount of noise we make with our clouds, that seems like a recipe for disaster, don't it? Besides, it shouldn't be too much trouble to just do this the old-fashioned way. Pulling a lot of attention to ourselves. The lungs are going to be an absolute nightmare. Going to be pretty brutal, to say the least. So we'll have to see how that goes. I really like this area. So, what's worse? Murdering you in cold blood, or making you live the rest of your life trapped in a glass cage? Gotta say, might have to just take matters into our own hands here. Apply some goodness wherever we see pain and suffering. Ooh, resistance potion indeed. Which does give us a good excuse to head into the vault. I mean, while we finish exploring this floor, I'll give it my last few thoughts here. Crap, I guess it's already enraged. Can't get more enraged. Let's just finish the gold dragon. There we go. Because will we need any resistance potions in the final section of the game? Here's the question. I don't think so. We have the ability to gain 3 pips of resistance to fire fairly easily, and that's the important one, to say the least. Even with that change, I believe that it puts us in a decent spot. Cold resistance will still be good. Only have so many ring slots, and we are constantly... Oh, we are using the RF one right now. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. But yeah, probably can get away with using the resistance potion. Oh gosh, was this just an area full of killer clowns before the door opened? That is a nightmare scenario. Oh me, oh my. Killer clowns account for so many of my deaths just because of all the stupid status effects that they can put on your characters. Turning me into a bat and then blasting me as an orb of fire is definitely a quick and easy way into a grave right at the final moments of a run. There we go. And you know what? I think my little mental calculus that we went through, I don't think we need these resistance potions. You don't give me willpower, right? That's all I really care about. Everything else we can just have fairly innately on at all times. So let's find a trove, shall we? Bit of a walk again. Fortunately, Zot Clock, again, shouldn't be an issue on a run like this. We haven't been pausing around too long, which isn't always the case with Quaslol, because much like it used to be a strat, and the reason objectively, or subjectively I should say, the reason why the Zot Clock was put in the first place was so that people wouldn't just yell and constantly make noise and draw enemies to them, because it's the safest way of playing. And a lot of times Quaslol runs will kind of turn out that way, where you're just constantly on the back foot, always struggling. But this time around, we actually made it through decently quickly, even despite all that. But let's just drop a bunch of scrolls temporarily and head in. I hope you're worth it, friend. And wow, you must have gone lucky. Clowns have never given you trouble. Last time you died on Zot, you didn't spot Tiamat in a draconian pack. Oh geez, yeah. And no, I think in general, not too big of a deal. The killer clowns in general, but it's just when you're not fully aware, like I was, of some of the finer details of their kit, because I didn't realize that bats have a vulnerability to fire, and so I took like an over 100 damage shot from an orb of fire and went down from being in a spot where I was like, oh no, I'm good, I'll just walk out of here, to just instantly dead in a blink of an eye. I think it was one of our tournament runs even. But yeah, Shield of Ignorance is a pretty sweet get here. We will lose out one of our pips of cold resistance, but we don't really need that. And it'll give us the RN that we're missing, as well as just an overall increase in our shielding capabilities. And we're not quite at risk of stat death, even with this at our side. So let's head out of here, shall we? Switch over our shields, I think. Get something a little more tastefully matching to our outfit as well. The At least the chest armor shield combo is looking alright. The barding clashes a little bit, but hey, sometimes sacrifices must be made, even if they're the worst kind. A sacrifice of fashion. Let's head back down, shall we? I guess this Palentonga never really had much of a cohesive look going for them, at least relative to a lot of our other runs. I feel like I get lucky a lot of the times where all of the items that we find are nice and matchy-matchy, but not today. Okie dokie. We even make noise when we're in a thin hallway. Huh. See, that I did not expect. I thought that when we weren't making storm clouds, we were being quiet as a mouse, but apparently, even with no storm clouds, you're still just making an absolute racket. You know, maybe we were just too close to an opening, so we still had a couple of clouds coming in. That's probably a more fair assessment of the whole ordeal. Let's switch over to Vampirism here as we face off against Draconian pack. Vampiric Broadaxe should be enough to just mow our way through these packs with relative ease. As long as we don't get too much damnation being slung our way, which is never a guarantee. Never know when that might make an appearance here. Until then, we're in a decent spot. Switch over once in a while. Hello, my Draconian compadres. Nice to see you. Nice to make your acquaintance. Sorry you all must die. Unfortunately, it's just one of the hazards of the job. I mean, it's probably in their job description, right? You'd hope Zot gives a pretty accurate job description for applicants. Maybe not. Essence of Pure Evil probably wouldn't give too much credence or care to the whims of their employees, right? Guess it's one of those things we'll never know because we plan to just completely rob Zot of all their authoritarian power. Put an end to it once and for all. Let's see. We would lose 6 strength and 2 dex in exchange for adding a pip of fire resistance that we don't need because it doesn't do anything for us. Poison resistance, which means we could get rid of this ring. Huh, and what do we switch it out for? Corrosion or RN are both actually fairly solid. Question is, how much does our AC decrease by? And we just used up all of our enchant armor scrolls. Otherwise we could enchant this up to plus 12, and it might be worth it. Might be the one time I don't end a run in Gold Dragon skills. Almost every sword and board fighter that we go into the dungeon with is almost guaranteed to do so, but apparently not today. Sorry, Echoville, I didn't mention Elad, but I liked your comment, because she's got an infinite pen until we get the barding. I mean, if we want to make sure that we don't make liars of ourselves, we should, but we know it's there, right? So obviously it was available, and we're too good to bother going all the way down to Pan, retrieving it for ourselves. No, please, I let other people do my work for me. Instead, we'll just be happy to finish off the game. We don't need it as the thing. We're far and away superior to the Black Knight themselves, so who needs that stinking barding? This is the way that we frame things so that we always win. There's never a downside.